the case with the Joker. In comic books,
The worst
whether a
of
character
all.
lives or dies is directly tied to their sales. And Joker, being one of the most profitable characters in comic book history, is thus essentially immortal. And the stories that try to write themselves around this just don't satisfy me. What is the most evil thing your brain can
It's
come up
very
with?
true.
Somewhere, in some comic issue, the writers have thought of that same exact thing, and there is a 7 out of 10 chance that Joker has already done it. And
What's
yeah,
up, guys? Hope everyone's feeling blessed and having a great day. As always, you're in the best place for reviews, reactions, and analysis. So what have we got in store for today? Would be, why do we keep sparing villains? That's the thing. This video really interests me because I've always said in previous videos that these no-kill rules in fiction inherently make no sense, whether it's like your Batman, who's the main culprit, or Daredevil in the most recent MCU going on. It's like some people are irredeemable in the sense that they're going to go into jail, they're going to break out, and then they're going to re-offend. There's no redemption, there's no reflection, there's no change of heart. They just come back and do just as bad, if not worse, had they done before. So it gets to the point where you have to really realize it's like, me not doing the deed and completing the mission is doing a greater disservice in the name of justice than my own personal idea of whether it is wrong to take a life to begin with. So I really wanted to see how this creator explores this kind of idea. And it's by Pin. It's here. Shout out to him. Let's get straight into the video.
okay, let's make one thing clear. There is no such thing as karma. There is no universal force punishing bad people. If that were true, the people screaming outside my window while I tried to record this video would already be in the 4th circle of hell. There are countless cases across history where the worst people ever have gotten off scot-free without even the slightest hint of retribution. And those are only the ones we know about. Just walking down the street in one day, you probably pass by countless people who have done unknowably heinous and cruel things, like being landlords. So in place of karma, humans created justice, ensuring those who have been discovered doing evil things receive an appropriate punishment. Inevitably, the core tenets of justice have bled their way into our media, influencing the stories and narratives that writers try to tell. However, every now and again, you will get a story that doesn't quite seem to satisfy that point of fucking around and finding out. Like, here's a scenario you've probably seen in fiction before. A villain, vile, sadistic, and inhumane. Their crimes are depicted to be of an unknowable scale, as if the writer was trying to illustrate suffering like the world had never seen before. Then we have the hero, someone with a certain set of idealized morals that you could never ever find in real life. And honestly, if someone did think like that, it would probably just piss you off. So finally, after a long, grueling journey, they confront the villain. And yet, when faced with the most evil being in the entirety of their fictional world, like this person is 9 out of 10 times the person who killed their parents and several of their loved ones, the hero still chooses to spare them.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
What are we
Makes no
doing?
sense. Just do
These
it.
are the kinds of scenarios I'll be critiquing in this video. Sarcastically, of course. If you couldn't tell, this isn't really a serious video. How such forgiveness falls apart when you actually begin to look deeper into the implication of these villains' actions, as well as some protagonists who don't fall into this trap and actually understand the point of getting the job done. Let's start with a personal favorite of mine. My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia is unfortunately one of those series burdened by a certain type of fandom, whose analysis of the series starts and stops by asking who's topping who. This of course extends to its antagonists, and from an outside view when looking at how the community treats these villains, one might be led to believe that while they are the opposing force in the series, perhaps they are somewhat decent people. They're not in the slightest. I'm just going to say every single villain in My Hero Academia who passed away before the end of the series is looking straight up. And despite this, while yes, the vast majority of them passed away, up until their very end, the heroes of the series were still trying to save them. Let's start with one of the only villains who was dispatched by the heroes on purpose, Twice. Twice was one of my favorite characters, and of course I do understand the sympathetic angle to his writing. He was mentally damaged by his own quirk, leading him to seek out people who could actually accept him, and the League of Villains was the only family who did so. However, he really just needed to die. I understand seeing how one of the heroes you idolize and look up to, Hawks, stab a guy on live TV can be pretty traumatic, but I feel like if they just explained what Twice's quirk did on the news, rather than lose faith in the heroes, the populace would just clock that it was what needed to be done. Like, if Twice escaped, the casualties of the war would have been exponentially higher, infinitely higher. Hawks is honestly the MVP. Then of course, we have Ochiko's final interaction with Toga.
Very true. And I do have to agree. Twice was kind of, his quirk is just too dangerous. It's a true balance breaking quirk, what I like to call them, where it's like his ability changed the entire landscape and the entirety of the battlefield. If he was let to live, then there was no telling how much havoc he could destroy. It's just the sheer numbers just too overwhelming. And me personally, I think Hawks had to do the right thing at that point, because it's too dangerous to keep alive, one, and he's too hard to contain as well, which is even what makes it more difficult. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, even if you watch the most recent season of Invincible, where you have multiple, it's like these guys with multiplication quirks, when used in a specific way, they're literally untrappable because of how their work can easily get them out of situations. Even this whole idea of disguising themselves and infiltration, it's very, very dangerous. It has to be gone. But I do believe, if he's talking about Toga next, I will probably disagree, because Toga is a bit more nuanced situation, if I had to say so myself. But we'll let him see what he says.
Honestly touching. One of the most beautiful scenes in the entire series. But I'm just gonna say it, Toga did not deserve to die that happy. While not as bad as Shigaraki, and I will get to that guy, we're still talking about a serial killer here. Not even a just one like Dexter. She just killed people for the love of the game. One of the worst scenes in retrospect is when Toga pulls up on Uraraka during the aftermath of the Paranormal Liberation War, disguised as an old woman. We know how her quirk works. She needs blood to use it. So just clock the fact that Toga either maimed or killed a fleeing old woman just to say hi to a girl who isn't even her friend.
When you put it that way,
lucky.
It's quite heinous.
And finally, we have Shigaraki. Throughout the earlier half of the series, Shigaraki is more of a lower end street tier villain. While he did,
but I definitely do feel like in Toga's case, it is a quirk what physically forces you to have blood in order to live. Then you kind of just have to find a way to satiate themselves. Like, it really goes to show a lot of these stories that delve the deep of like vampires, and even in something like Tokyo Ghoul, at the end of the day, they have to have sustenance. Just saying no, just puts up with it, isn't the valuable situation, nor is it the right situation, because it does get to a point you have to meet people at a point of need. You wouldn't just say to somebody, "Oh, you don't have water, just put up with it." No, they still have their own needs, so it's a bit unfair for Toga's sake. That part is true, but there's a lot of nuance before that which has got this situation, which you have to consider as well. Because really and truly, Toga's ability, these blood-related abilities, are some of the most powerful and useful when used for great reasons. We've seen Avatar, such as blood bending. In Black Clover, the queen of the witches was able to like heal Hosta's most deadliest wounds using blood magic. Blood magic is so powerful when used properly, but it's also most deadly when used negatively, both the gift and curse. So I have to have some sympathy for Toga at the end of the day, but that's just me personally. What do you guys think? Was she wrong, right? How would you have treated Toga? I'm very curious to know.
If they ended up keeping his damage down to this level, you could make an argument of him being saved. Rather than doing this, Hirokoshi took a more difficult approach. See, while simultaneously revealing Shigaraki's unfortunate backstory, humanizing him, and making the audience understand his tragic origins, Hirokoshi also made the choice to have him pull off one of the grandest massacres anyone in this series had ever pulled off. From that point onwards, Shigaraki started causing tragedies as easily as breathing. Not even just combatants. With one touch of his hand, Shigaraki would casually erase entire city blocks of people. All the while, Deku suddenly starts talking about some, let's redeem him, let's save the little boy inside of him. Honestly, if Snipe didn't miss those shots at the start of the series, the entire situation could have been avoided. Personally, it just didn't work for me, and I think to some extent, Hirokoshi realized that having him be alive by the end of the series would be somewhat unjustifiable, deciding to suddenly face. My Hero Academia's villain sympathy situation is a bit.
I have not caught up to the manga. Anime I am though, so we'll skip that part. But let's keep on going. But yeah, Shiggy, he's an interesting case because once again, his fruit and his ability, his ability is just too dangerous. But me, the key moments of what makes a character should be captured or should be killed is just one, how easily it is to take them down without killing. And two, how easily and securely you can keep them imprisoned. If you can't guarantee these two, then I guess the point is like the risk outweighs any kind of moral ambiguity at that point for me. It's just ridiculous. Like, what are you gonna do? Keep his arms chopped, like separate his entire life? Are you gonna like cut his arms off? Like, what do you do at that point? Because it's just too dangerous.
Weird, but at the very least, the villains could actually permanently pass away at the end of the story. That is not and cannot be the case with the Joker. In comic books, whether a character lives or dies is directly tied to their sales. And Joker, being one of the most profitable characters in comic book history, is thus essentially immortal. And the stories that try to write themselves around this just don't satisfy me. What is the most evil thing your brain can come up with?
It's very true.
Somewhere, in some comic issue, the writers have thought of that same exact thing, and there is a 7 out of 10 chance that Joker has already done it. And yet we're meant to act like, oh, the job is done, when he's put back into the same mental asylum that he'll break out of a couple days later. Time and time again,
ridiculous.
Joker has proven himself capable of escaping Arkham, killing like 100 civilians, then being locked up again. Despite literally torturing Batman's own son and permanently paralyzing the Commissioner's daughter, we're still meant to shrug our shoulders and let this guy live on. I can't even entirely blame Batman's anti-killing rule, because why does the legal system keep falling for the insanity plea? Don't hit me with that bullshit. At a certain point, when someone has blown up enough children's orphanage for fun, you just have to put them down. The absolute worst part is that whenever the Joker is finally killed in stories, like he earnestly deserves to be, the writers pull out some "we warned you" ass storyline and have the entire world fall apart just to prove a point, like in Injustice, The Batman Who Laughs, or any story where the Joker dies.
Yeah,
like, I can accept the whole
ridiculous.
Gotham crime power vacuum thing, where the Joker somehow keeps crime in Gotham at bay, but I think that's worth not having your water poisoned for the 4th time this week. Enjoying the video so far? Why don't you show it by smashing that like button?
I completely agree with everything he said with the Joker, because it gets to the point, especially with how comic books runs are dealt with. It's like the whole story, they are essentially forced to keep these characters alive just for them to have everlasting storylines. That's really the true reason why Joker's kept alive. Like, you can't kill him because there's no stories more you can tell. So they just keep on bringing him alive. It keeps on giving a story for Batman to face Joker over and over again. The sales continue. But if we look at it at an in-world view of the comic, of the story, it gets to the point of, surely it gets to the point where it's like the president says, this is enough. Like, the death penalty is going for Joker. Like, he's irredeemable. Like, at what point do you just have to make exceptions or make these extra laws for these villains who keep on doing the same nonsense over and over again? Because Joker is just the very top of the top. Even people like maybe Scarecrow are just as bad. It's just ridiculous. But let's continue. But what do you guys think of Joker? Do you think Batman's no-kill rule is dumb? Let me know down in the comments.
Many heroes are bound by their principles, unable to deliver justice even when faced with pure evil. But not all characters follow those rules. In fact, there's something even more satisfying about a hero who remains moralistic throughout the entire story, yet understands when justice must be served. Because the writers understand that you can still be a good, optimistic, and sympathetic Many heroes are bound by their principles, unable to deliver justice even when faced with pure evil. But not all characters follow those rules. Throughout the entire story, yet understands when justice must be served. Because the writers understand that you can still be a good, optimistic, and sympathetic person without turning a blind eye or
I
pitying
completely
evil.
agree.
Mahito is a perfect example of this. He isn't just evil, he's the literal embodiment of human negativity.
It's just
In Jujutsu
evil.
Kaisen, curses are inherently irredeemable,
You
but
have to get
Mahito
rid of
takes it a
them.
step further with his sadistic cruelty. He doesn't act out of instinct or some uncontrollable nature. His actions are deliberate. He relishes in breaking Yuji, torturing and killing his loved ones right before his eyes, and
He's just
testing
a
how
straight
far
up
he can push
monster at
him.
the end of the day.
So when Yuji finally defeats Mahito, there's no righteousness behind his actions, no mercy and no pity. He wants Mahito to suffer. He misses strikes on purpose, dragging out his torment. And in that moment, the fight proves something. Yuji's morals mean nothing when confronted with pure evil. He wins only when he accepts that he and Mahito
Sometimes
aren't so different,
you have to fight evil
both
with
driven by a
evil.
cold, objective need to eliminate the other side. Because at the end of the day, the only moral response to true evil isn't pity or forgiveness, it's destruction. But my favorite example of this idea comes from Gon's final confrontation with Pito.
I completely agree. Like Mahito, as I've been saying, there's two criterias of when you should and shouldn't kill a person. One, how easily it is to capture them without killing, and two, how easily and securely you can keep them in prison. Mahito takes the case very similar to the Shigaraki, where both their abilities can just touch and then they do massive area of effect damage, effectively making any place they're in breakable and like escapable as long as they have access to their hands. With Mahito's case, even more difficult because he can create more hands. Like, unless you're gonna have them with some kind of device what seals their powers 24/7, then they're gonna escape. And even then, how many jailbreaks have we ever seen where a villain group is able to disable these like inhibitor collars, and then they're able to get out instantly once again? He's too dangerous, too menacing, irredeemable. You have to get rid of him. And shout out to Yuji for doing what needed to be done, or at least attempting to, because I'm pretty sure Kenjaku actually got the finishing blow. But he knew what he had to do and sought to do it, and he has my respect for that personally.
Throughout Hunter x Hunter, Gon is portrayed as an almost naively optimistic kid.
And that's
Every now
why
and
Killua
again,
was best
cracks
boy.
do form in his character, hinting at something darker beneath the surface. But it isn't until the Chimera Ant arc that we truly see how deep that darkness runs. Kite wasn't just Gon's mentor, he was a stand-in for the father figure he never had. So
very
when
true.
Gon discovers that Pito
I feel like a lot of people miss this part of Gon's character, because I believe it does omit some parts from the manga, whereas Killua actually raised Gon a little bit in his earliest childhood. So as far as he's aware of, this is the closest to like a paternal like figure in his life, and he has a really strong bond with Gon, despite it perceiving be only a guy he's known for a couple of days. It's nothing like that. The connection ran more deep, especially with one of the themes of Hunter x Hunter is like bonds are more important than blood, which is the reason why he's so close with someone like Killua, and he has such strong connections with everybody he's met. Bonds are determined by how long you've known somebody, but how much shared experience and shared feelings you have towards each other. And with Kites, this rings true so very much.
killed him, all of that naivety shatters. He doesn't just get angry, he completely loses himself. What makes this conflict even more compelling is that Chimera Ants, unlike curses in Jujutsu Kaisen or demons in Frieren, aren't inherently evil. They can develop human emotions, restrain themselves, and even act out of goodwill. So there is a pretty good argument for actually sparing them. And that's exactly what makes Gon's breakdown so tragic. Killing Pito wasn't about justice or the greater good. It was
the
pure,
job done.
unchecked rage. He threw his entire life away, consumed by vengeance and unable to see past his own hatred. So why do authors choose to spare villains who don't deserve it? The simplest answer is their messages and their themes. Not every story aims to depict a raw, realistic portrayal of justice or revenge.
Don't
Some
worry.
prioritize the idea
Let
that
me know if you've
forgiveness
watched
is
it in the
powerful,
comments.
or that revenge ultimately isn't worth it, focusing more on their message than on the emotional reality of retribution. Both approaches are valid, but I do have to admit, few things are as satisfying as when an author crafts a villain that the audience truly despises, only to have the hero deliver the justice that they deserve, making them pay for everything that they've done.
Completely agree.
But what do you think? Which villain should have never deserved to be spared? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Sounds good. At the end of the day, very good video. At the end of the day, we all love a revenge / get back story. They're always the most thrilling, high intensity, action filled stories, and we all rate them for that because it is refreshing to see a villain who toes the moral line of what is traditionally good as a hero to do and what they shouldn't do. It's why characters such as like the Punisher is very fascinating. Even people like Gojo in this anime, in Gojo in JJK, the villain being able to do, the hero being able and willing to do traditionally villainous things in order to get the job done is something very intriguing and enjoyable to watch. And for the characters and the authors who do display this, shout out to them, because it's not the most easy to get those characters on side. Because stories with the concept of forgiveness, over like personal reflection, personal development, understand the meaning of life, being empathetic, compassionate. These stories are good and there's a place for them. But not every story, not every character needs to have and show those kind of themes. So very, very good. I do like this guy's video, and I do have my eyes on his on this video here of the death of the optimism in modern shonen. I will be checking it out. Let me know if you want me to react to it, but I will probably do it anyways. Let me not lie. But give me your thoughts and comments down below on what you thought about this breakdown. Like I said, I'm trying to do a balance between funny reactions and analytical reactions and reviews. And if you like this comment, let me know what you want to see, and I'll do my best to showcase them. And without further ado, you have a guys have a very good day, and until next time, ciao.